And that's something that we want to bring to the forefront because, what we don't want students to do at Licking Heights is leave without knowing either what they want to do, or they can have a couple of things crossed off their list of things they know they don't want to do. We don't want to send kids into the workforce or into college where they're changing their minds 100 different times. We really want to create opportunities for them to experience anything and everything they can to find out who they are and who they want to be by the time they leave.
So, hello guys, our fellow educators and school leaders. I'm Avinash, co-founder of TomoClub. And today on the TomoClub podcast series, we have Assistant Superintendent Thomas Holdren from Licking High Local Schools. It's in Ohio. It's a school district with 5,000 plus students from pre-kindergarten to grade 12. And today's topic that's going to be very interesting is about student engagement. I think it's a very broad topic, but every school has their own definition. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to understand from Thomas' point of view how it will look like. Welcome to our podcast, Thomas.
Thank you for having me. Very excited and just a wonderful topic we have today with student engagement.
Absolutely. So Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself? Give a little bit background about yourself for our audience.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. My name is Thomas Holdren. I have the privilege of serving Licking Heights Local School District as the assistant superintendent. I have been the assistant superintendent. This will be my third year this year. Before that, I have been a teacher and a building administrator at every grade level. So elementary, middle school, high school. I've taught those content areas, and I've been a building leader in those content areas. I've worked in the lowest performing school in the state of Ohio as a curriculum director, have won several awards with my teachers, increasing student achievement. And I, again, have the pleasure of serving Licking Heights. This will be my third year. So we are really excited about what this year will bring for all of our students and staff.
Perfect. No, honestly, thank you for your service, Thomas. I 100% appreciate your journey. And all the best for the upcoming school year, which is almost just around the corner. So I always start my podcast with a very simple question. What got you excited into education in the first place?
So great question. What got me into education was I was good at it, but it was boring, right? Mm-hmm. So as I started to think about what I wanted to do, I thought about how education just needed to change, how students were kind of just going through the motions, and staff too. There were occasionally an exciting classroom or a teacher that was bringing some excitement, but those were few and far between in my educational career as a student. So the longer I sat and thought about it, the more I became kind of obsessed with wanting to get in education and see how many buttons I could push and how much change I could make. And here I am. I've got the opportunity to lead the curriculum department. So we partner with teachers on a daily basis to talk about how school can be better and how school can be different. So everybody wants to be at school, not just has to be at school.
No, I'm glad if the people at the top are thinking about it, then definitely it's going to change. And I do not agree with the fact that, education is not evolving. I have done 100 plus podcasts, and I know every school leader is talking about so many different types of innovation to improve in their district, that it's a breathing, living, I would say, creature in its own way. And of course, it's heavy, so it will take time to move, but I think it is moving, no doubt about it. And do you think that emotion or that reason is still intact today? A lot of people started something that they want to make a change. Are you think you're able to do that? It is still happening for you?
Yes. Yeah, I do. And I think you're right. I think it takes a lot of time and a lot of persistence and effort. When teachers are educated through the college systems, they kind of get into like a pattern of behavior, and then they see other teachers teaching the same way, and they feel like they need to replicate that every day, every lesson. So when I go in and talk to teachers along with my curriculum directors and instructional coaches, we just try to open the conversation and talk about how you can do things differently. We try to put lines in the road for teachers in terms of here are our frameworks about how we believe instruction should look in your classroom, small group and whole group. However, the avenue that you use to get to student mastery, it's completely up to you, and it should be different in everybody's room. Everybody comes with a different skill set, a different flavor of teaching, and we want to see that and embrace it. We don't want all of our teachers to be robots and reading from a curriculum. That's just boring. Nobody wants to sit through that, teachers or students. So we really do try to give them the freedom and the autonomy and the space to just do things different and have a passion about coming to work.
No, I can't agree with you more on that. Even if I look back in my K-12 journey, I don't appreciate those teachers who were doing great job in the curriculum delivery. I think I appreciate who were connecting with me more. Those are the one I still remember. Those are the one who have like a everlasting impression on me and has shaped me. So yeah, I love that fact that you have to embrace everyone's teaching style and not try to mend it. Let's coming to the student engagement piece. If I look from the school funding formula, how would a school get paid? By the district, by the county, by the state, or by the federal. Hopefully that remains, if it remains. So in the funding formula, the student attendance is a big parameter. And that becomes the definition of student engagement. If the students are showing up, they mean they're engaged, right? That is the simplest it can be. But
is the simplest it can be.
But is that the definition that holding for you guys as well?
No, that is not our definition. So we are going through that journey right now. To give you a little bit of background, when I came into this position, we really wanted to allow the district leaders, building leaders, and teachers to have an open door policy. So we implemented what is called instructional rounds. And that's where our building leaders create an instructional strategy. And then we meet at their building 4 times a year with a group of teachers, a group of building and district administrators. And we go into classrooms and we observe this instructional strategy. And then we come out of the room and we try to talk about what we've seen, if the PD that we're delivering is working, and so on and so forth. However, what I noticed last year was we would always come out and say the students are engaged. Mm-hmm. And then when someone would say, well, what do you mean they're engaged? A person would respond, well, they were working on something. Mm-hmm. And we really started thinking, well, is just being present and just being compliant engagement? And as we started doing a little bit more learning and digging, we got involved with the Schlechte Center, who's been giving us some professional development. And we came to find that you can't go into a classroom and see engagement. You have to talk to the students to really find out if they are engaged. So, one of our definitions of engagement is that there's a personal connection or a personal commitment. There's persistence, and there's a just desire to create a product by the student to fully be engaged. So we're starting to have that conversation and really tweaking those concepts to create a definition of engagement in our district.
Actually, that's very well put in. Like I give you my definition, since we work with a lot of schools. If a student have a sense of belongingness, I think that's my word I use very often. And it almost encompasses a lot of underlying emotion. Like you said, the desire to build something, desire to show up, a desire to be participatory in the sessions, and peer-to-peer interaction, teachers to student interactions. I think the sense of belonging is a bigger umbrella that I see. Does student find safe to come to school? Do they want to come to the school, right? I think, or they've been pushed to come to the school. So I think those all comes under student engagement. And, but like right now, like a lot of schools have mobile phones allowed in the classrooms, right? So you don't?
No, so Ohio just made it mandatory that we are no longer allowed to let students utilize cell phones in school without explicit and direct teacher permission. So in our district, along with many others, there will be a ban on cell phone use in the schools in the state of Ohio.
So they're not supposed to bring it to the school, or they're supposed to keep it in the locker?
It's district policy. Ours said that it should be away. If they don't bring it, even better. But this will be the first year that we are implementing that anti-cell phone or ban on cell phone policy. So it's going to be very interesting to see how both teachers, students, and family members kind of respond to this new mandate by the state.
Yeah. I always wanted to ask this. Do you remember why it was allowed in the first place?
I have no idea. I wonder if it first came about due to safety, or kind of like AI, the cell phone just kind of popped up and schools weren't thinking about having policies or procedures around it. I think, as we talk about artificial intelligence or AI, I think that's probably where we are right now. It's popped up, students are using it, staff is using it, but educators and districts are way behind on implementing or even have policies that guide how to use AI effectively.
No, I think you're right. It may be just it was there, so it was never questioned, and it just became a norm or habit.
Yep.
Because why I brought it up right now is, as a school in the classroom, would love to see how that thing shape up as a new policy. But before this policy, in terms of student engagement or student attention, you are competing with TikTok, you're competing with YouTube, you're competing with AI chatbots in the classroom. So what's your take on reshaping the engagement in those terminologies?
Yeah, so you just have to find what your students' currency is, and everybody has a little bit different currency with what engages them. Just like you and I, we have passions of what engages us in work. There are some aspects of our work that we're fully engaged and attentive with and for, because we want to make a product based on that work that shows who we are. And there's some things that I get from my boss that I put down at the lower end of the level because it doesn't interest me, and I don't want to really create that product, and that's why I procrastinate. So that's a conversation that we're having now with our district and building level administrators is, the work we put in front of our students, do we have the ability to make that engaging, and how can we tie a product to that activity that gets all students a chance to use their voice, to use their passion to create what they want to create. And just as we go about work, we're more invested, we spend more time, and we have a better product when we complete things that we're engaged with. And that's kind of our thinking for students too, trying to figure out what motivates them so that we can align that work and that product to their personality.
No, makes a lot of sense. So do you guys have optional or like selective courses right from middle school, or does it start at junior high?
No, we do have a couple electives in middle school, but we just started when I came to Licking Heights. We opened 6 new pathways. So in our pathways, we have a variety of computer science, informational technology, communication, business, nursing, and education.
That's really great, because if students can choose and can feel that, they are deciding their pathways in that way, that can definitely give them, because I remember while I was growing up back in India, till my grade 10, I had no choice. There was like set curriculum, set subjects, and I have to do it. I think in 11, like in my high school in 11th grade, I chose my subjects and I decided to go in a certain direction. But it was very strict, and I was talking to my cousins and my other family members in the middle school, and they have so many options. I'm like, come on, if you're not engaged now, what else do you want? So
students now seem spoiled, don't they?
No, I'm not going to say that, but yeah, I think it's difficult to gauge their attention, I would say. I think that's
Yeah.
huge. I find nowadays more difficult.
Well, and that's something that we want to bring to the forefront, because what we don't want students to do at Licking Heights is leave without knowing either what they want to do, or they can have a couple of things crossed off their list of things they know they don't want to do. We don't
Yeah.
want to send kids into the workforce or into college where they're changing their minds 100 different times. We really want to create opportunities for them to experience anything and everything they can to find out who they are and who they want to be by the time they leave.
Right. No, I think one of the biggest challenges in student engagement is boredom. Like what has happened to us, like even if the funniest part I'll tell you, so even if there's a 1 minute video, it will have in the first 10 seconds a statement like wait for it. So people have so less patience that they can't even complete a minute video nowadays, right? So when I was doing podcast, I was doing like an hour-long podcast, and one of my friends said that you have to cut it down into 2 minute shorts to actually get people attention. I'm like, what? It's supposed to be somebody who is really invested in it, but that's the hard truth. That in terms of boredom or in terms of lack of patience, that's a problem. So even with choosing subjects or getting themselves resilient throughout is difficult, right? What's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And again, it's a piece of what we're trying to do with this definition of engagement. You talked about resilience and persistence. Yeah, that's part of it. The other part that I want all of our students to walk away with and understand is, I want them to be able to think critically enough that when they get an activity or work from their teacher, that they're able to think and process how this could potentially relate to them. Right. And I think that sometimes, just what you were saying, if it's not immediately evident, then they cash out and do something else, or they're bored. I really want to find that space where we're teaching everybody to say, okay, you may not understand it yet, but let's think about it for a little bit to see how we can make that personal connection. And even if it's not the most important thing on your list, you can still find ways to make it relatable to your life.
Right. Let's say, what has been your hardest reality check in terms of an engagement strategy, which you thought is great on paper, great in theory, but completely fall flat when it put in practice? So what has been your biggest learning in that front?
I think it's any type of curriculum. For instance, there are blended learning models where teachers, have a small group of students, and then at the students' desks, the ones who are not in a small group with the teacher, they may be on a software program or on their Chromebook doing some activity. I think the biggest learning curve is, my generation, me and my coworkers, my peers, we felt like just sitting the student in front of that software was going to make them engaged. And that's not the case. Sometimes, having students at that group with the Chromebook or with that technology takes more oversight and planning than when you're working individually or in a small group with students. So I think that was the biggest misconception and challenge I had, was thinking, oh, this curriculum can solve my engagement problem.
No, I agree with you. I think a lot of curriculums out there, a lot of instructional material can be passively consumed. Like I can be sitting in the classroom and I'm just like a one-way street. How can be a two-way street is something a lot of curriculum fails to do that. And sometimes even if the educator is putting in a lot of hard work, it's still difficult because it has to be like a student opt-in, which is difficult, right? And I know a lot of schools where if a student try to participate in a classroom, the other students give them a stink eye, right? And or they call them their name by calling them know-it-all, or by like being nerd is not cool, right? Or being answering in the classroom is not cool. So how do you guys tackle with that kind of stuff? Does that happen in your school district?
I don't believe it happens that often, but I think that we are Licking Heights anyway. We have such a firm grasp on trying to get students to collaborate and communicate with each other. We do a lot of partner discussions or partner work, think pair shares. So students have a lot of opportunity from the time that they are in grade school. The teacher will prompt them, give them a question, and they'll have the opportunity to go back and forth with their classmates. So I think that practice of allowing each other to share and think through answers has really diminished that particular aspect of education. When I was a student, you're right, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for peer-to-peer collaboration. It was the teacher asked a question, someone would raise their hand, that person would typically raise their hand often and be the one to answer the question over and over. We don't subscribe to that.
Nice.
We have a large EL population, English language learner population. We speak over 52 languages in our school district. So we really understand and press upon our teachers and our students the importance of communicating with each other, student to student and peer to peer. So I think that's kind of dissipated in our district.
Love it. I think I love it because I remember personally my best friend, sometimes they teach much better than, in an hour session. Versus the
teacher.
5 minute summary that they give me. So I love it. I think especially with the same age group child, or anyone can feel free to ask even the dumb questions they feel are dumb and don't feel intimidated or feel that they'll be subjected to ridicule. I think I love that.
Exactly.
Supporting peer-to-peer communication.
I was just going to say, I really think that helps with participation in the class because, again, from my experience as a student, if I was the only one raising my hand, I was always like a little bit timid or unsure of my answer and how it was going to go over, not only with the teacher, but the classmate. And I think that, allowing students to have the opportunity to talk back and forth, it boosts their confidence. And as you were saying before, it gives them that sense of belonging, that their ideas are important and they matter and they feel like they can share with peers.
No, absolutely. So I was asking, what other strategies are you guys following to improve student engagement this year?
So we are definitely investing in more peer-to-peer collaboration, and we are really taking a big opportunity and a big chunk of our teachers' professional development to look at like a final assessment or a final product of a unit or a standard. That's where a lot of our work is going to go this year in really trying to get teachers to reflect upon how can a product of your activity, of your lesson, of your standard influence student engagement, and allowing students to give teachers feedback. That's a little bit scary for teachers because they're going to have to ask students if they like the work, if they felt the work was important, things like that. So we're really going to have the opportunity for kids to give their real voice to their teacher, and that's exciting.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's always very risky or very uncomfortable to hear your feedback, especially from your people who are lower down your hierarchy in any organization.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I remember there was once done such kind of thing in my K-12 journey, and then it never happened again.
Well, we are trying to slow walk that. What we have done last year, we started to give student experience or student engagement surveys to all of our students in grades 4 through 12. So the teachers were able to see some of those question stems. One of the questions was, does the teacher allow me to provide feedback on my learning? So the teachers were given kind of a heads up last year that this was coming. So many students said no in that response. So we took those responses, shared them with teachers, and now teachers kind of understand, all right, I do need to give kids an opportunity to comment on what I'm teaching so that, it can be better. It can be more fun and engaging, not only for the kid, but for me as well. So our teachers have been just great about accepting critiques from kids, and I couldn't ask for a better group of teachers. They're just amazing.
Wow. No, Absolutely. I remember now why it didn't happen again, because it was told to us that it's going to be anonymous, and then realized it wasn't. So, so then, so then that we got all scared that the feedback that we are given, she knows who has said what. So I hope you're following the anonymous strategy here.
Yeah, yeah. If we say it's anonymous, we keep it anonymous.
I'm glad to hear that. But like a lot of districts are having this problem of teacher overwhelming right now. I think because of the budget constraints, a lot of schools could not hire the amount of teachers that they want to hire, or could not give them enough resources what they need. So I'm not sure this is applicable to you, but most of the district teachers are feeling stretched. And when, as an educator, I am not able to keep up, I cannot expect to engage or create engagement environment around me. So any comments on that? What has happened in your district regarding that?
I think that happens every year, regardless of funding or not. And I want to preface by saying teachers are not given as enough resources from the federal or the state government anywhere. So I understand that. What we have to do as a district is to just slim down what we ask of teachers. We ask that teachers provide a safe learning environment for our kids every day, where they feel welcome, where they feel like they belong and they feel loved. And the other thing we want them to do is make sure that students are learning deeply every day. And I think if you keep it simple to those two things, and anytime you add something, you try to take one thing away from a teacher's plate, the more success you'll find.
No, I just remember you mentioned one thing I wanted to ask you before. You said 52 languages. Wow, that's insane. So in such a diverse population, how are you maintaining it? Because they have different cultural understanding of speaking up, or different understanding of even how do you respect your elders, because there's so many different cultural differences. How are you guys still keeping a, I would say, unified engagement policy, if something like that?
We work very hard on making schools feel like a place where everybody wants to be. We spend a lot of our time engaging different groups from different backgrounds, opening up our school to not only just answer their questions, but to allow them the opportunity to provide feedback for us. We want to know how we can help them support their child through a new experience in a new culture in K-12 education in America. So we're very open to having those conversations. And more importantly, the families who we extend those invitations to, they show up. They come, they give their feedback, they ask questions. So it really does feel like two-way communication. The families that we have at Licking Heights, just like our teachers, they're outstanding. We have a lot of diversity clubs from our elementaries all the way up through our high school. Diaspora is one of our biggest events that we have. And it's a cultural engagement night for students, where students perform songs, dances, storytelling, poetry, anything they want to share from their culture. And it brings more visitors, I think, than our football or our basketball team. So again, we just embrace our different cultures here, and everyone just understands that we're a family, and we keep growing, and it's really truly great to see, not only from the adult perspective, but the kids who are able to have these kind of rich, diverse experiences. They're so much better off than your typical school in America.
You know what? I can't, like, I want to be a part of that kind of school, because and the value proposition that you are saying, there are organizations around it. So there is like college exchange programs where such organizations felicitate that kind of environment, where people want to go and be surrounded by different cultures to learn from it, because that just open up their mind. I remember so many MBA colleges, they actually marketed that you will be working with different set of folks, because it will open up your mind. And you guys are doing that in K-12. Yeah. I'm not sure if you guys are cashing it right now properly, but it's such an insane amazing experience for anyone to feel so early on and feel normalized about it. So honestly, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I think again one of the most powerful pieces about what we're doing here at Licking Heights is the students are running the show. They're allowed to have their voice, and really, again, we want them to own the school. We want them to make it a place where they do want to be. And again, with programs like Diaspora, it's just evident that they feel supported, they feel welcome, they belong, and they want to be at Licking Heights.
No, absolutely. I'm pretty sure that will inject a lot of pride and confidence in them. Um, I always ask very upbeat questions. So I'm going to ask you a very different question. Let's say if the board gives you an approval to spend $1 million on improving student engagement, right? What, where would you spend that money?
Oh, that is a great question. I think the first thing that I would do is get a group of kids and ask them, what's missing from our school, and then whatever they say is missing, then I would pump that money into their answer, and we would go for it. Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's the best answer anywhere possible, because you didn't impose your ideas. You just said, I'm gonna ask. I love it. But let's say if we stop measuring student success in test scores or in graduation rates, what would be, and let's say engagement rate is the no, is the metric of student success. What would that engagement report card look like?
So I think an engagement report card would look like, did I learn how to use my voice to advocate for my learning? I
Mhm.
think there would be a piece in there that said, was I allowed to and able to create an assessment that showed my learning or produce something that showed my learning other than a test? I think another piece would be, am I leaving high school knowing what I want to do and the steps that I need to take to accomplish that? And then finally, do do I do I feel confident that I will be able to succeed outside of high school?
I think as a parent, if I get to know about such things about my child, I would like it. I would like to know
Yeah,
what he or
yeah.
she feels about those things. So yeah, beautiful. Um, if there has to be one thing that you want to ban from the school, which you think kills engagement, what would it be? And mobile phone is not the answer. We already have established that.
So ban from school. I don't know if I'd ban anything. I'm not the kind of person that would ban things, because I think that everything can have a solution if you think through it. I would ban the use of technology without having a plan how to use technology.
I don't know. I didn't send you these questions before. I don't know how you are so prepared. Okay. Let's talk about AI now. I think that's a topic that has
Sure.
to be in my every podcast now. So AI tools can instantly answer questions, right? It can help kids with right essaying. It can solve math problems. Do you think it kills student engagement, student curiosity, or do you think it has a silver lining to it? What's your take on that?
Silver lining. I think that AI can do things with such speed that teachers or humans will never be able to replicate. That's just a fact. So I think that teachers have to be willing to allow students to investigate, and they should. Teachers right now, if I was in the classroom right now, I would be using AI every day with my students to see how they used it, what they know about it, how I could make my lessons more engaging, how I could get students to learn the content better. I think what we want to do is prevent it from being just plagiarism,
Mhm.
like copy and paste. But I do think there are a lot of pros and benefits with AI that you and I I'm sure both use. When you're maybe thinking about questions for this podcast, I wonder if you don't go on AI and say, hey, draft me a list of questions. I think the downfall with that, and I've seen the downfall with my coworkers and with some of my principals and peers, you use AI blindly and you say, write this email or make this process. You don't think through it. And then you just try to implement that. And after you send the email or after you try to implement something, you're like, oh, that didn't work out. So again, using AI as a draft or as a sentence starter or as a precursor to learning, I think that's right now the best way to go with it. But using it blindly, that's no good for anybody, and it kills thinking and creativity and all the good stuff we want kids to learn how to do.
Right. No, I think you asked that. I also used AI before preparing for this podcast, but at the same time, I know that I'm going to hold a conversation. So if my conversation doesn't stitch together, if it's not aligning with what kind of insights I want to draw out of this conversation, and if I do not have my individuality as a part of this conversation, then, or my experiences as a part of this conversation, but then I think it's not going to be a win-win for you and I, and for the audience who's going to consume it later. So keeping those pointers in mind, and then using AI to help me frame my sentences, to help me, because sometimes the way I want to ask that, I want to make it much more diplomatic or much more
right.
So again, you're right. It's a great starting point. It's great. It was a great assistant throughout when preparing for it. Of course, a few years back, it would have taken me 2 hours, 3 hours to prepare for it. Now it took me 20 minutes, 30 minutes to prepare for it and to put down all my points. And specifically now AI is learning what kind of question I like, what kind of, it's getting more efficient in giving me or spitting out the best answer. So absolutely, I agree with you that there's a silver lining to it. And but as you said, one very interesting thing, that AI can track every click. It can track every missed question. It can track a pattern in student learning. So it can be a very powerful tool. But at the same time, I'm not sure, this may not be relevant few years or few months later, but I think there is still a strong instinctively gut value in educators to identify student problems or student where they are getting disengaged, because AI will be able to track that hopefully soon, but not right now. Do you think educators understand their responsibility here, that, or because even if AI is able to do everything, there is still going to be a human intrinsic value in it?
Yeah, and I think that we've as educators, we've kind of learned that from the one-to-one initiatives that districts have had with technology. So a lot of districts are one-to-one with iPads or Macs or Chromebooks, right? And I think we probably had very similar conversations when that was the big push, like, oh man, all the students are going to get a Chromebook, so you don't need the teacher. Well, that has proved to be false, and probably you need the teacher even more, to set expectations, to set guidelines, to teach the students how to engage with the technology. Just like what I said, one of the biggest misconceptions I had was if I got a one-to-one device and put a kid in front of it, they would automatically be engaged. Well, they're not, and that doesn't work like that. So I think it's a very similar frame of mind and conversation with AI.
No, you have definitely mentioned that fact that there has to be a training aspect with AI, which wasn't there with mobile phones. So are you guys doing anything about professional development of educators on AI, or anything related to AI literacy for students?
Yes. So right now, the state of Ohio, there are grant opportunities called the Ohio Tech Grant, and I apply for those funds every other month, and I'm awarded those funds. And what I do with those funds is I create small cohorts for all staff to join for some AI training. It's a full day, an 8-hour training where we have a company come in and give us productivity modules, ethics modules, AI and education modules, so teachers can learn about AI. The other thing that is a part of our strategic plan this year is that we're going to create a stakeholder group with staff from our school district as well as those members of our community. And we are going to create policies and procedures for AI in our school districts. So that's one of the top goals we have on our strategic plan this year.
No, makes sense. Absolutely love it. We did cover up different aspects of student engagement, from misconceptions to how you're currently dealing with it, and the other aspects. Is there anything that I haven't touched upon that you want to share about this topic?
No, I think that what we want to do and what our teachers are excited to do is become the model district in Ohio for what student engagement looks like. So I hope in the next 3 to 5 years, I can look back on this conversation and say, yes, we did it. Not trying to delete or bury this somewhere where no one can find it.
No, I think whatever you said has a very, I would say, practical and legit outlook to your strategies. I don't think so they are unachievable or random. I think there is a lot of sense and a lot of thought process behind it. So I wish you all the best that you are able to implement them and bring them to action. And I think there's a lot we all learned in this. Oh, just one question. If any school leader wants to learn certain strategies that you guys are doing, anything you want to give them a piece of advice on that?
I think you have to have a plan. You have to involve the people who are on the ground floor, and then you have to all come to a determination of what success looks like and how you're going to measure that, and just keep talking through it. First plan's never the best plan. First idea is never the best idea. It takes time. It takes time. It takes time.
No, perfect. I think that has been a crazy good conversation. Thank you so much for giving your time and your ideas. And let's stay in touch.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.